Okay, here we are with chapter 5, sensation and perception. Just a little heads up for this chapter. I don't know what you thought of it, but this sensation and perception chapter, in my opinion, is so mind-boggling that anything I show you may produce an adverse reaction, even if it's not live, it's over this video. So if you have an adverse reaction, hit pause, go to your nearest restroom. I'm not saying something will happen. I'm just saying it could happen. What are we talking about? Sensation and perception. There it is. Sensation. Things are always bombarding our senses, right? Constantly. From the fact that your eyes are viewing the screen and maybe even writing down these notes or these definitions via um, a pen or pencil or typing out some notes in some form or fashion, to the pressure of where you're sitting down at the moment. And then perception, our acknowledgement of these sensations. So, in other words, there's so much that's actually we're bombarded with, but our awareness of the sensation actually occurring is what makes it perception. So, sensation is quite fascinating because we're always sensing things. You can sense the light to this side of the room that's coming in from my side windows, but not so much the light that's right behind me. Not as drastic, because if I open up those windows, then all the light would just block out my face, which some of you would be very happy uh, to have that happen. Now, I want to start off by showing you something, this image inside this um, vessel, this jug, right? What do you see inside the jug? Well, some of you are going to say, Mr. Pedroza, that's not appropriate. There's a naked man, a naked woman in an embrace. But I would argue, wait a minute. The research shows that young people and those pure of heart actually see a series of dolphins. Can you see the dolphins swimming all around? A number of them. Let me point out a few of them to you. If I can do this upside down here. There's the dolphin tail, there's the body. There's the snout of the dolphin, there's a tail. There's another tail. There's a body of the dolphin, there's another tail. There's another body of the dolphin, there's a tail. There's a tail right here. There goes the dolphin swimming this way. This dolphin's got his beak open at the very top, and there's his tail at the bottom. Well, some of you still don't see the dolphins. Why? It's just too late for you. All right, enough of that. When I'm in class, I used to pass around the image so people could take a closer look, but some people would just stare at it for an hour and 10 minutes, and I had to stop doing this. Now, another student sent this to me. She received this in the mail, and it's supposed to be a prayer rug. Now, most people see an image of a man, let's not discriminate, a woman with a beard, and it appears that the individual's eyes are closed, right? But they say if you stare at this long enough, and I've never done this via video, if you stare at this long enough, the eyes will open, right? The eyes will open. Now, apparently, this mail is supposed to come with all kinds. This prayer rug is supposed to come with all kinds of amazing rewards. I'm not sure exactly the details, what you have to do to get all these rewards besides believe, but I'll leave it up to you. Stare at it long enough, you can freeze frame this and see if the eyes will open for you. If it starts talking to you, that's totally on to you. I won't make any comment on that whatsoever. Now, we have these sensations that are occurring all the time, but do you know that you are amazing? What's one of your senses that's really amazing? Now, I'll be honest with you. I recently had eye surgery, so my eyes have been restored. So that's why sometimes you'll see me with glasses, like in my picture I sent to you via email. That's an old picture from last year taken at the American Psychological Association. Thank you, APA. But I really don't need glasses that often unless I'm driving or maybe watching a movie or a television or something like that. Most of the time I get by without any glasses. But when I was younger, kids used to tease me and say, "Hey, four eyes." Now, I wish I had the comeback I have today, because if some little kid, and I was a kid, said, "Hey, four eyes," I turn around and say, "Yeah, that means I have more than you." Right? But you never think of stuff like that when you're a little kid, obviously. Most of you have incredible senses. Now, I know some of you have been criticized because you don't taste certain foods or you don't hear people very well. My great sense is olfaction. I'm a very olfactory kind of person, not old factory. I'm talking about my sense of smell is good. But let me talk about absolute threshold. Absolute threshold is the minimum stimulation needed to detect something 50% of the time. Do you know you have the ability to taste 1 teaspoon in a 5-gallon container of water? If I had a bunch of containers with all 5 gallons of water and some of them had sugar in it, 1 teaspoon of sugar, you'd be able to taste that 50% of the time. Minimum stimulation needed to detect something 50% of the time. That's amazing. Smell. You can smell 1 drop of perfume in a 6-room home or apartment. That's incredible. That's incredible. So if you've been thinking about cheating on somebody, smell you later. Touch. A fly's wing falling from 0.04 inch touching your cheek. You can feel it 50% of the time. I'll be honest with you, I'm not signing up for that experiment. Although when we sleep, we do eat a lot of spiders by accident. What else do we have here? We have hearing. You can hear the tick of a clock 20 feet away under quiet conditions. That's incredible. And it's amazing how quickly we get used to certain sounds. We don't even hear them anymore. And finally, vision. You can see a candle 30 miles away in a dark, clear night. Wow. Call up your buddy who lives on the far side of Long Beach. Tell him at midnight tonight, this morning, you're going to open up your window and look out your bedroom window and see if you can see that candle that your buddy has lit approximately 30 miles away. Now, of course, that won't work because there's a building separating, it's an apartment building blocking your view. But if we did this experiment, we'd probably do it in a desert. 30 miles away, you could see that candle 50% of the time. Now, that leads me to my case study. My case study is known as the Sanchez family, or for my Asian American family class, it is the Lee family. It takes place in my hometown, which I'm sure you know by now, Detroit, right? Detroit, Michigan. It's a French word. And it takes place at that agency which I talked about before called La Casa. You remember that agency? If you recall the case study of Wandering Tommy. Now, I actually have photographic evidence of the family. Here they go. There's your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man back in the day. By the way, this case study happened just the other day, or actually some years ago, I should say. About 1978-ish, around that time. And there are some of the members of the family in question, right? In question. Now, I put fake sunglasses over their faces so you can kind of hide their identities. There's a couple of brothers, a cousin, a friend of theirs, right? All kind of hanging out in front of the house. So, one of the good things about La Casa was that when people couldn't come to you, you could go to them, which is really cool to be able to make home visits because sometimes transportation was an issue. So I got into my 1976 Ford Pinto, the kind that would blow up if somebody rear-ended you, and drove over to their house. I parked on a very busy street, very much like if you've ever been to campus, the intersection of 17th Street in Bristol. You know, it's very busy on Bristol. It was kind of like a street like that. Parked on one side, crossed the street very carefully to get to their house. buses, cars going by, and so forth. And it's a 9 o'clock family therapy session, and there are the familia drinking jumbos, right, on their porch, drinking 40 ounces of beer in the morning. Hey, Mr. Pedrosa, you want some? No, that's all right. I'll pass. Uh, they're waiting for you inside. Now, what they meant by they're waiting for you inside was that the family was inside. Mom, uncle, little brother, little sister. Those are the folks that were waiting inside. Now, who's the problem in this family? These guys on the porch, right? But you know as well as I know, the people with the problems are the ones that usually don't see themselves as having the problem. So they're not interested in doing therapy, which is probably good because they've been drinking. They shouldn't be in therapy anyways, right this second. So I go and they said, go ahead and go inside. So I walk into the living room, and the first thing I notice is it's completely black. I mean, talk about this. It's pitch black. Black. I can barely see. And of course, our eyes are not, we're not night creatures. Okay, some of you are, but most of the case, we're not night creatures. So it takes it takes approximately 20 minutes for our eyes to completely adjust to the dark. And my eyes can barely make out the fact that the mom and brother and sister and, and mom and uncle, they're sitting on a couch. And again, you can barely make them out, and they're watching a 10-inch black and white television. And the TV is on, right? The TV is on. They're sitting in the dark watching this TV very intently, and uh, there's no volume, right? There's no volume. So picture this. Here they are sitting in the dark on the couch watching this 10-inch black and white TV that's on with the program on, but no volume. So I stand there and I can't believe it. Like, why are they watching this program with no volume on in the dark? So I sit down, you know the expression, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. I sit down and I start watching the television in the dark with no volume. And after a couple minutes, I could hear the television. Why could I hear the television? I experienced absolute threshold. I experienced the minimum stimulation needed to detect something 50% of the time. I experienced absolute threshold for hearing. I heard the television. So why were they watching the television in the dark with such low volume? I don't know. Maybe the television was broken and that's as loud as it went. But that's an example of absolute threshold. Minimum stimulation needed to detect something 50% of the time. I was lucky to hear it, right? Here's another image. This is something my cousin Kiki sent to me when I first moved to California from Michigan. And I thought, what a cool image, right? It's a couple overlooking a lake. And then I looked at it more closely and I saw, which some of you have seen, a baby, right? There's the baby's feet, there's the knees, there's the tummy, there's her little arms, her little fingers, there's the head of the baby, there's her eyeball right there. Back side of the baby. Now, some of you still don't see the baby. That's okay. You're not ready. Maybe you don't want to see the baby. Maybe the test hasn't come back from CVS. I was just joking. I hope it's not true because then you're like, how do you know, right? Maybe my spidey senses told me. We're going to continue with this interesting world of sensation and perception. But let me show you this first. Can you help find this baby's mama? And we'll get back to it next time. Thank you.